G'day you beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Today we're just going to go over some helpful hints from a beginner for beginners. Now I want this video to be as concise as possible, so I am not going to go full in depth in everything that I'm talking about right now. But first things first, one thing that you want to do as a new player is progress through the star chart at a pretty decent pace. You will be gated in how far you can progress by the fact that missions tend to get high enemies. So you see there level 30 to 32, whereas on Earth where you start you'll be going against levels 1 through to 12 or 15. So it's going to be easier at the start. The reason why you want to kind of progress is that later planets actually have, if you see down here, this little symbol, whatever your button prompt is for your platform of choice, this will show you what materials you can find on these planets. So there will be some stuff that is a little bit rare, and you're going to need that sort of stuff. So you need to know where you can get it, and you need to be able to get it. So if you come in here and press square, you can see, like, I haven't been playing that much. I'm a couple of weeks in, but you notice there are some things that come from planets that I don't have too many of, and others that I have a lot of. Like I have a lot of alloy plates, I have a decent amount of control modules, mutagen samples, there's not that many there. Neurodes and neural sensors are very low, and then there's some other stuff like nitane extract and Orokin cells, we'll talk about them in a second. But in general, like salvage, nanospores, not really that big of an issue. Plastids is sometimes you need to farm that up a little bit, but keep in mind, like neurodes, neural sensors, stuff like that, they're going to be very, very rare. So you want to progress for that reason. It's not going to push your story too fast, don't worry about that. There will be sections where, see if I can find one, like when you finish Sedna Junction, you get the War Within. There will be these Pluto Junction, for example. You have 3 requirements in order to get to Pluto, to be able to do this and then get to Pluto, one of which is complete the quest, The Second Dream. So you are gated by your quest progress. Your quests are over here. So you're going to have to progress through these quests, and there's The Second Dream there, which is a pretty decent quest, and you are going to want to be kitted up by then. So you want to progress at a decent state, but you also kind of want to farm. Don't be afraid to spend some time farming as you go through the maps, especially things like defense missions, extraction missions, stuff like that. If you get each set of 5 waves on a defense will get you a drop. Each fully defended extraction artifact will give you rewards, stuff like that. So keep in mind you're going to want to farm all that stuff up. So that's pretty much it on progression. So move on to alerts. Keep an eye on your alerts at all time. I just jumped on today and did an Orokin cell and an Orokin catalyst alert. There will be stuff like cosmetic items and things. Salvage is not really an issue. As you notice, we had quite a bit of salvage. So salvage is something that you're not having an issue with. Don't waste your time with alerts for salvage. Kind of don't waste your time with the alerts for just cash either. You want ones that aren't actually here right now. And those things are for, as we kind of stated, you want to do alerts that will give you things like neurodes or neural sensors or Orokin cells. I think there's neural sensor ones, I'm pretty sure, or nitane extract. These things are extremely rare. Tellurium, extremely rare. And one thing that is not in this list is argon crystals. The reason there's none in my inventory is because they have 24-hour timers on them and then they disappear. So you need to do them when you need to do them. You're probably better off to actually find a farm on the map to do that stuff. The other things you will get are former blueprints. Very, very important. You put these onto a slot on one of your mod slots on either a Warframe or a weapon to halve the cost of mods that have the same polarity that you've chosen. Orokin Catalyst's huge, they double the capacity of a maxed out weapon. And Orokin Reactors, they do the same thing for your companions, for your Warframes. and for your Archwing, I believe. So talking about mods, let's move on to the next thing that you kind of need to know about, because you don't really get taught that well how to do it, and that is how to properly mod weapons. So let's take the Soma for example. So if we go over to config C, okay, and then we'll just back out and go back in. These are the standard stats for a Soma. Now keep in mind, you're not, when you get to level 30 on your Soma, you're not going to have 60 capacity like I do at the top. You're going to have 30. This has had an Orokin Catalyst put on it. It's also got come with 2 polarizations. So see these little symbols there, they relate to these mods with these same symbols. So if I put something that costs 9 on, it'll actually only cost 5. So it halves it and rounds up if it's at an odd number, or a half rather. So they are by putting Former on, so you would go Actions and then go to Polarization, which I don't actually have any Former on me at the moment, and then you will choose a slot and then choose a type of polarization that you want, but we're not going to worry about that right now because we've got enough. So what you want to do when you're modding guns is down the bottom of the stats sheet you'll see 1 impact, 4 puncture, 5 slash. That's the damage. You add that up, that's the damage per bullet. It also has 30% crit chance, 3% crit multiplier, and status chance is 7%. They're the things you're really interested in, because that is what's going to give you all your damage on your guns. So what I tend to do is, to start off with, I put flat damage increase mods on. And yes, this isn't really maxed out very well, but god, it's expensive to max out, and I think I'm going to save that for a better one. Okay, so we have Serration on. That's just going to increase your damage by 90%. So we see our damage going up there. Considering it has a high crit chance and a low stat chance, we're going to go and chuck extra crit chance on. We're going to take that to 75%. We're going to grab Hammer Shot, which is going to give us crit damage. It does have status chance on there as well. We're not super worried about that, but you know. Then we've got more crit damage here. So now we've taken our crit chance to 75% and our crit damage multiplier up to 8.4, so that's huge. We've also upped our status to 10%, which for a gun like this that has 100 rounds in the mag and fires quite fast, you know, you're going to hit some of those status procs. Then I take, this is my only multi-shot mod that I have. It's 60% multi-shot, right? So what it does is it takes 60% of your damage and adds it on top of the weapon. It also increases things like your status chance by quite a lot. So you see we go from 9.8 to 15.2, so that's quite good. And then what you want to do is you want to throw things on like your cryo rounds, infected clip and stuff like that. So when you put 1 on, you will just get that status type, okay, and that will add to your overall damage. But if you put another one on, they will combine to create blast in this case, or if you put infected clip on, that will combine to make viral, or Stormbringer to make magnetic. So what you need to keep in mind is we have Cryo and Stormbringer, they're right next to each other. Then if we put Wildfire on, that will give us magnetic and heat. You can't see because it's just behind my helmet. But if we swap Wildfire and Stormbringer, it'll change it to Electricity and Blast. The reason for this is that this is mod slot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the different damage types combine in a sequential order. So if we were to put Stormbringer here, we can't do that. If we were to put Stormbringer here, that would change to Electricity and Blast. Put it back and put Wildfire over here, and that would do the same thing. You would have Blast. So if you're really looking for magnetic damage, you need to make sure that these two are the first two in sequential order. So either 1 and 2, or 2 and 3, or 3 and 4. They don't have to be right next to each other. You could have, say if you were going for magnetic and fire, as long as you have, say, that there, that there, and then Wildfire has to be after the second one that's combining. So I hope that makes sense. You know what I mean? You've got Cryo, Stormbringer, and Wildfire, so that's 1, 5, and then, because this is in 8, it's not combining with anything. If you were to swap these two, you would change what your stuff is. So let's get all this stuff off because I want to make that later. So here's an example of two of my builds. This is a magnetic build. Let's just back out and go back into it. This is a magnetic toxin build. This is good for going against Corpus. So the magnetic damage is going to give you a 75% damage increase against their shields. That is the blue section of a health bar. And then the toxin is going to attack their actual health, which is the red section of the health bar. So pretty much the rest of it's all exactly the same. It's just these three that are changing over to here, which is changing the magnetic and toxin to corrosive and heat. This is going to be good against Grenier and against infected. So these two combined will give you corrosive, which will do extra damage against armored targets, which is the yellow section of a health bar. So if you have enemies that have yellow health bars, that is because they have armor. You can shred that armor, and then that health bar will change to red, meaning they have no armor left. So that'll do extra damage there. And wildfire is actually, or heat damage is actually a pretty good extra status type to have on to do extra damage on top of that. So these are going to do very, very well against Corpus, Magnetic, and Toxin Corpus. And then the B one is Corrosive and Heat, which is going to be very, very good against Grenier. If you were just going up against Infected, I think I'm not 100% certain, but I think Heat is probably the best option because your other option is to go for Cold. I think Heat is actually the best option there. So these will do you very, very well. So that's a way of building. So if you just take a super quick look, because that just took way too long. Something like Broken War. It is a... no, that's not a good example. What is a good example? Something like Broken Scepter should be a good example of a status type weapon. Yeah, so it has a crit chance of 10%. If we come over to this config. So 10%, 2 times multiplier. But it has a status chance of 30%. So I don't have some of the best mods in the game, so this is not the best way to mod a weapon at endgame, but this is something that you can kind of strive for to get a decent build to start off with. I'm kind of running dodgy status types on this weapon, but things like melee prowess to add more status chance. And then your dual stat mods, like Vicious Frost for an extra 60% status chance. And then, some maxed out status types and your pressure point melee damage. This will do pretty well. I would just switch up these status types. So probably, what would you want? You got Frost over there. So that, for example... magnetic and gas we've got on there, so you would want to actually get rid of the fire damage, but we're if you're just going up against Corpus, magnetic, and getting rid of this would make magnetic and toxin, but we're running condition overload, which gives us 60% extra damage for each status type affecting the target, which wouldn't matter to do the same thing with heat gone, but I don't really have anything else to replace it with, so I could go sort of heavy trauma or something like that, but which actually is probably a good shout, actually. So that is a perfect example of build that'll do very well against Corpus. Magnetic Toxin, it's got a decent amount of damage. It's got 52.5% status chance. So that's going to do pretty well. So that's enough about modding stuff. What else are you going to need to know? Okay, so if we come over here, these are your relics. This is the other most important thing for an early game player. You'll see I don't really have many because I've farmed the crap out of them lately. You need to know places where you can get relics, and you need to farm those relics so that you have a lot of them, and then you need to use them. So looking at things like, if we can find one, excavation maybe, but the best idea for farming relics is... find it, would be a defense mission or a survival mission. There should be one around here somewhere. let's capture this one, guys. Interception is a very good way to get relics. So you have to capture nodes up to 100%, and then you'll get a reward, and then you can continue to go again. The first 2 times that you get a reward will more than likely actually be relics. So things like interception, defense, survival missions, extraction missions are very good for farming up things like relics and endo. And then you want to go into this menu up here and go over to void fishes, and you want to actually go in here and unlock those relics. So you choose a relic, you'll start the mission, you'll have so this one here is sabotage. You'll have to do the sabotage objective while also collecting void fishes or fragments off of corrupted enemies. So you'll see the drops, they'll have big markers for you to pick up. You unlock those relics, and then you get prime parts, and then you're going to use those prime parts to either trade full sets or to sell to Barakatia so you can get better stuff. So if you're looking here, we have these primed mods that I've bought, which I got from Barakatia. He is your Zur of Warframe. So yeah, you need to get those farmed up. That will give you, if we come in here, I don't think we have any because I've sold them all. So if you come over this way, we should have prime parts. Or did we already go past it? No, we didn't. We were there somewhere. Yeah, we don't have prime parts up here because I don't have any prime parts because I actually got rid of them, or I sold them to him. So the reason that I mentioned that is that the next thing in the game that you're kind of going to want to come to grips with is the way that the monetization system works. The game relies on something called Platinum, which in the top left hand corner there you can see I have 179,000 credits and 109 Platinum. Platinum is something that you either get with real world money from buying packs like this and getting rewards, or by trading with other players. You'll start with 20, and you will only have, say, 3 slots for Warframes. To get another slot to own another Warframe, you'll need to spend 20 Platinum. And the best way to do that is to actually farm up sets using those void relics and selling them on places like Warframe.market. And then eventually you'll have full prime sets you're selling, rare mods that you're selling. You can go on Warframe.market or Google sort of anything to figure out what the best sellers are, work out what you want to farm those things, sell those things, make yourself platinum, buy yourself extra slots. As you can see, I have, so if we go down here and go to inventory, normally you would only start with 3 slots. I actually have an extra 4 here. Actually I have more, yeah. And then you have your weapon slots. I think you start with 5, if I'm not mistaken. It may be 7, but as you can see, we have more slots available because we purchased those slots. Just allows me a little bit of leeway with getting rid of stuff. And then you have your sentinels. Okay, so you're going to need that platinum. Can be a little bit daunting getting into trading, but it's really not that hard. On top of that, you have, I think I have it disabled right now, so we'll just check. Going to chat. I just put trade chat on. It should be on by default. And then all you do is just press L2 on PlayStation and go over to this symbol here, which is the trade chat. And you can see people will type in what they want to sell. The way that you sell things is just type in want to sell, and then you open brackets and type in what you want to sell. So like Soma Prime, and then close brackets, and then set, and you can put say 200p for 200 platinum. Right, so this guy's already done it. Want to sell Valkyrie Prime 40p. So that's for the blueprint alone, BP for blueprint. So you need to tell people what you're selling, whether it's set, whether it's the neuroptics, the systems, the chassis, the blueprint. Okay, and the more stuff you have to sell, the better off you will be, because you will start getting yourself a lot of slots for things, also for cosmetic items and for color palettes to color up your Warframe so that you can kind of look pretty like I'm kind of do. You know, when you start the game, you will only have a single, if you go into here, you will only have, in this classic section, you will only have that middle column. So you'll only have, where are they? These colors coming up the middle. These are all the colors you get, and that was it. Okay, so keep that in mind. And then you can make yourself look pretty. But that's going to be it, guys. You know, I just wanted to go over some very, very easy stuff that I've learnt. Most notably the modding, because you will notice a humongous difference modding that correctly. Like using, if I go into a mission right now and it's Corpus and I take my corrosive build, I will not fare too well. I will still be able to kill them, but yeah, I won't melt them like I would if I had my magnetic build on with Toxin. So I hope you found something in this video useful, guys. If you did, smash the like button, leave me a comment, let me know how you're going in Warframe or what it was that helped you out. And if you want any more clarification whatsoever, just ask and I'll do what I can. With that said though, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you very, very much for watching. I love your face, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.